Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Set here, also known as King the Conqueror, also known as the High Evolutionary, also known as the King of the Infernal Realms. So, there's a brand new Terrence Howard video that came out about 4 days ago, allegedly. I don't know if that's true. From Video Advice, um, talking about a brand new book that's free. I don't know where, but apparently it's free. I don't know if it's on Amazon or some shit like that. But anyway, this video was going to explain why he is right and at the same time he's wrong. Yes, because that's a possibility. Um, I do not believe in the concept of Terrence Howard. I think the concept of Terrence Howard is a disillusioned um, attempt at once again taking away something from somebody that doesn't belong to you. So, in his thesis, he explains the concept. Some of you guys probably already heard this before. He explains the concept of 1 times 1 being 2. And on that, he's completely right. 1 times 1 is supposed to equal 2 because 1 times another thing is multiplied and should equal 2, not 1. But this is where the cookie crumbles. This is where the cookie crumbles, man. Because the problem is not that it's a conspiracy theory built to bring people to ruination. No. It's a problem of practicality. That's what the problem is. It was a form of practicality. And also, well, okay, it might be, yes, it is. There's a conspiracy there. Okay, there's a conspiracy there. But what had happened was, the government and the education houses, the educational how do you say sector, the government and the educational sector decided to not use the number 0. They decided that they didn't want to waste their time explaining nothing or no thing, right? Because you already have to deal with 1 and everything that comes after 1. So, and 0 is a whole nother ball game. Like I've said before, 0, we need to go back to 0. We don't need to go back to 1. We need to go back to 0. I've said this before many times. I am 0. So the problem here is early 90s, early 80s, up until from the 80s up until the 90s, the number 0 was a constant problem in education, in schools. So instead of making 0 a known concept, they decided the reason why 1 times 1 equal 1 is because they decided to remove 0 times 1 equal 1 and then 1 times 1 equaling 2. They removed it. So the problem is not a mathematical problem. The problem is a language problem. It's a dialect problem. In our dialect, we decided to remove these two equations from the chalkboard and decided to say 1 times 1 equals 1. So 1 is actually replacing 0. So when you say 1 times 1 equal 1, you're not saying 1 times 1 equal 1. You're saying 0 times 0 equals 1. And you're saying 0 times 0 equals 0. 0 times 1 equals 0. 1 times 0 times 1. 0 times 1 equals 1. You're removing all of those equations. You're removing 0 times 0. You're removing 0 times 1. So instead of having 0 times 1 and 0 times 0, we just remove all of those numbers, two of these equations, and we replace those two equations with 1 times 1 equal 1. And then you start from there. Because 2 times 2 is still 4. And 1 times 2 is 2. So because 1 times 2 equals 2, you don't need 0 times 1. So in actuality, you're removing 3 equations from the chalkboard. So the secret is not in 1 times 1, it's actually in 1 times 2. If you understand 1 times 2, you understand 1 times 1. So it's a dialect problem. It's for educational purposes only. It's just for school. It's just to make it easier on everybody. So he goes into the fundamentals of physics. It's 1 hour. And I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm actually at half of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie. So at some point he goes into the fundamentals of physics, stating that everything multiplies and yada 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 blah blah blah. Of course it does. But he's also stating that it is fundamentally impossible to have the mathematic that we have today and 1 times 1 equals 1 when it's supposed to be 2. That is not true. Because at the end of the day, 0, but that's where, no, actually that's where he's right. That's not where he's wrong. When he feels like when he says that there's a conspiracy involved 1 times 1, that's where he's right. Because 0 is actually everything. That's why we need 0. We actually need 0 to get 1. Without 0, 1 does not exist. So you have to have a starting point so that 1 can exist. So if in schools, so the weird part would be that 0 times 0 equals 1. And you would think, if you're an idealistic person, if you're not a scared person, if you're not scared of life, right? Because you have to understand, if you put in textbooks, even as a child, I am dead fucking sure that even a child, if you put 0 times 0 equal 1 in front of him, he's gonna start asking some fucking questions. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna start asking some serious, life-changing fucking questions. It doesn't matter what time, era, date, age, it don't matter. If you start seeing 0 times 0 equal 1, you're gonna be like, what in the fuck is that? Why? Because you're saying 0, you're saying I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, but not right now, because I want to paint a picture. If you start putting 0 times 0 equal 1 in textbooks, your school is not gonna look like a school anymore. It's gonna look like Hogwarts. You're gonna be in Hogwarts. You're gonna be in Harry Potter, because now you're not just learning math. And this is where the conspiracy is, because we don't want you to learn how the universe works. We just want you to be able to count money. Your money, my money, everybody's money. We just want you to be able to put one, when somebody says, go get me 2 boxes or 1 boxes, you understand what 1 box and 2 box is. And that's the conspiracy. That's the conspiracy. The conspiracy is right there. What the government wants is for you to be able to pick up 1 box or 2 box, depending on your physical strength, whatever, depending what your job is. But it makes it easier. It makes it more practical. It's more pragmatic. Magic is not pragmatic. Because if you tell a magician to go get you 1 box, it's gonna be fucking complicated. Shit is going to fucking blow the damn fan. You know what I mean, bro? It's gonna be complicated, bro. There's gonna be a lot of shit going on. So we don't want a bunch of magicians walking around all up and down these streets. That's not what they want. They want people to be able to do simple tasks in the simplest way possible. And that's why 1 times 1 exists. It is not because the math itself is wrong. It's the dialect that we changed. The math is still there. 1 times 1 equal 1 because we removed 3 different equations from the chalkboard. There is no 0 times 0. 0 times 0 equals something. But how can that be? Because nothing, no thing, without another no thing becomes something. End of story. End of story. If you take 2 things, whether they are no things, it becomes something. Because in order to have a second of the no thing, that means the no thing is a thing. So you gotta have 1. So 1 represents a thing. Whatever that thing is. 1 represents thing. 0 represents no thing. And 1 represents thing. So 1 times 1 is not actually 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is actually 0 times 1. And 0 times 0. And 1 times 2. Because the before and the after counts for the present. The future and the past is the present, right? The bigger number and the smaller number represents a number. You can't have 2 without 1. You can't have 2 without 1. And 2, like the video says, means multiplication. Right? So the number 2 represents the word multiplication. So as the mathematics stipulates, it's a dialect issue. We're having dialogue problems. We're having language problems. That's what we're having. So 0 times 0, which is actually a thing, 0 is a thing. In mathematics, 0 is not nothing. In mathematics, 0 is everything. 0 represents everything. It's a circle. It's a circle. 0 is not a Z. It's not represented by a Z. It's not represented by a S, no pun intended. It's not represented by a G. It's a big old circle. It encompasses everything. 0 could have been a square, because there's nothing in the whatever. But they decided to go with 0. Well, on your calculator, 0 is a square. So a square or a circle doesn't matter. As long as it's a thing that goes round and round, a square goes round and round. A triangle goes round and round, and a circle goes round and round, right? A trapeze goes round and round. All those shapes go round and round. 0 could have been a trapeze, right? But they decided to go with the circle. I don't know why. Who cares? The point of the matter is, the word 0, the symbol of 0 represent everything. It's a starting point. So you don't need to talk about everything. You already know that everything is there. And this is why teachers, the modern teacher, the non-Hogwarts teachers, decided to be like, you know what? I don't feel like talking about 0. This is getting complicated. People are asking me questions. They're asking me questions. Screw that. We don't need 0. Or people believe, these modern day teachers just believe that 0 didn't matter. And dare I say, in some shape or form, they're right. It doesn't matter, because not for the same reasons that they taught, but this specific reason, because you already know that there is a everything. You already know that everything is there. You are part of everything, right? So what's the point of talking about everything if you can just start from 1? So just remove all of those things, and let's just put 1 there. 1 symbolizing the concept of those 2 equations. Like I said before, if you start putting 0 times 0 equals 1 in textbooks, you're gonna end up in Hogwarts. Because now you're talking about the universe. You're not talking about just mathematics. And when you start talking about the universe, you're not just, this is not a regular everyday class now. You're literally in Hogwarts. You're literally learning about everything. You're learning about the cosmos at this point. Right? So he's right, but at the same time, he's wrong. Like I said, is it a big issue? It depends. It depends if you want to make it an issue, to be honest. It really depends, because at the end of the day, we as a society are so far gone, there's no going back. Like, you can't go back from that. You can't go back from that. That's impossible. You would have to reinvent the whole education structure. And now you're not going to have regular old teachers. You're going to have physicists as teachers in like kindergarten schools. And that's not what we're doing because it's not practical. And believe it or not, making teachers like that is expensive. It's expensive. It's an expense that people are not going to pay taxes for. Because at the end of the day, even the common everyday man has the same mindset that the government has. And this was accepted everywhere. This was accepted by us. We accepted this. It made life simpler. We accepted it. We're part of the conspiracy too, if there is a conspiracy. Because in the subject of 1 times 1 equal 2, I don't feel like it's a conspiracy, but it's not at the same time because we accepted it. We wanted that to happen. We were okay when they made that decision. Right? Because how many times have you heard your parents talk to you saying, I didn't put you in school so you can learn that shit, right? I just want you to, I mean, some people have some bad parents. Some people have like badass parents, right? And they'd be like, I don't care about that. All I need you to do is finish school and find a job. And that's it. So it's in our language. It's in our dialect, and it's integrated into the society itself. I will say this. He does say in the video that if we learn this, the whole thing is going to change. Yes, it is. I don't think you understand how much it's going to change. I don't think you understand what you're asking. This sort of knowledge is best kept for yourself. That sort of knowledge is best kept for yourself. It's something that, you know, if you're capable of understanding that, then it's best you keep that for yourself. And there's no point today. I'm not talking about like 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years. That's not what I'm saying. Today, that's best kept for yourself. Because there's no way that you're going to go see the government and they're going to be okay making 0 times 0 1 and then getting a flock of physicists, a whole nation of physicists to become high school teachers and then explaining how the universe works so they understand what 0 plus 0 means. Or 0 times 0 is the same thing. 0 plus 0, 0 times 0 is the same thing. It equals 1. Technically. Spiritually speaking. Hypothetically speaking. Idealistically speaking. That's not going to happen. And not only that, it's going to change the infrastructure of the society that you're living in. It's going to change a whole lot of shit. And he's right. He does say that it's going to change a lot of shit, but that's what it's going to change. That's a change that people are not ready for. That's a change that will never happen. It's a change that will never happen. Ever. Why? Because we're comfortable. We're okay with how the thing. I mean, we're not okay with how it is. It could be better. But no one wants to go into an era where magic was the number one thing on the curriculum. No one wants to go there because now you're creating gods. If you say 0 times 0 equals 1, you are creating gods. You're not creating everyday manufacturer workers. And mind you, I say this, but there is a realm of possibility where we could be creating gods and all these manufacturing companies would still exist. Because at the end of the day, some people have simple pleasures. Not everybody is super complicated. Some people are very comfortable just working in their little manufacturing plant. They're very comfortable. They are the gods of the manufacturing plant. They are the gods of their job. They are the gods of fast food. They're the gods of Starbucks. They're the gods of Nike Air Force Ones. They're the gods of fucking McDonald's. They're the gods of home hardware. They're the gods of that place. That's what they do. That's what they know. They know everything in, out, future, past, present, the whole shebang. And they don't even show off, right? It's just their place. It's what they feel like they should do. It's what they would prefer to do. They could do other things, but for some reason, they're called to be in that place at that time. So now I'm talking about quantum entanglement now. And that's hypothetical too. That's hypothetical too. That's hypothetical too. You know. But one thing's for sure, 0 times 1 equaling 1 and not 0, because that was erased too, to make it more simple. And it was just to make it more simple. I mean, it wasn't just to make it more simple. I say that because I am aware that this sort of thinking is close to conspiracy theorizing, right? But it is something that I talk about. It is something that I talk about. It is a truth that I'm trying to put out there, right? Which means that I understand that it is not a popular concept. It is not an accepted popular subject of conversation in everyday life. So I'm trying to speak from a standpoint of the everyday person. So the everyday person is aware that 0 times 1 is 1 and not 0. The problem is conformity. We're talking about conformity. We're not talking about quantum physics. We're not talking about the element table. We're talking about conformity. All this is 0 times 1 equaling 1, 0 times 0 equaling 0, 1 times 1 equaling 1. That is conformity. It is what I consider to be part of the system of control. The matrix. As I have stated before, you cannot have anything if you don't have 0. 0 is where the true power is. It's not in the 1. It's in the 0. It's in the all. It's in the endless. It's in the infinite. So could you imagine if you had to take in consideration infinity every time you made an equation, every time you made a decision? You had to consider infinity. Life would be a lot harder. Life would be a lot harder if you had to consider infinity every time you made a decision in life. Life would be a little bit harder. But it would be a lot calmer also. We would all be wise. We would be a very wise species of living beings. Extremely wise. Too wise. And we would expand infinitely within the universe. And I guess that's what he's alluding to in his video also. But the thing is, that's also what I'm alluding to in my videos. And the reason why I said at the beginning I don't believe in the concept of Terrence Howard is because I started to notice that he was starting to speak out at the same time I was speaking out. So I feel like Terrence Howard might just be another form of control, might be another form of the dream trying to defend itself, the illusion trying to maintain normalcy, the bureau of normalcy, right? I probably said that wrong. Inside joke, I guess. The investigative bureau of normal shit, or what is supposed to be normal shit. So we were rocked to sleep. We were rocked to sleep right there and then, but we accepted it. We conformed to it. We decided to be like, instead of learning about the whole entire goddamn universe, just teach me what I need to know so I can go on with my life. The only problem is we didn't know what we were saying when we were saying it. We thought we knew, but we didn't know everything that we know today. So now all of the things that we know today, we understand. And right now we're kind of like, maybe we should have taken zero under consideration. Maybe we should have left it there. But now it's too late, like I said. There's no going back. There's no going back. How are you gonna overnight? How are you overnight going to transform the entirety of civilization itself? That's crazy. Things like that take time. You can't transform the entirety of civilization overnight. That's crazy. It won't happen. That's idealistic. That's an idealistic way of thinking. It's not a thing. It'll never happen. That's why the book is going to stay on the shelves because ain't nobody try to hear that shit. Because people still think like that. People are still conforming today because they have mouths to feed. It is too late. And having mouths to feed is also another form of control. They tell you to go get kids, tell you to go get married and have kids, blah, 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 blah. So that you won't be able to fight back. So you won't be able to fight back. You won't be able to not conform. You will have to conform because now the money that you consider dirty and worthless is the same money you use to feed your children or your family. Because you don't need to have family. Maybe you feed your mother, feed your dad, feed your sister or your brother. If you're an older brother, or even a younger brother, it doesn't matter. The point is, you have responsibilities, and your responsibilities are in the way of what you're supposed to be really doing. And they counted on that shit, and that's why they promote so much of it. Because while you're looking over there, while you're busy being busy, that gives them the time to do all the nonsense that they're doing. But yet again, I'm talking about conformity, because you could be a kind of badass that, that has like 6, 7 kids and still finds time and the energy to fucking do what you got to do and learn everything and, motivate people and fucking motivate yourself. And you're just a fucking beast. It's the freaking juggernaut. It happens. There's some people like that. There's people like that. It exists. There's people like that. But the problem is not the juggernaut. The problem is conformity. That's what I'm really talking about. I'm not really talking about marriage or relationships. No, I'm talking about conformity. Because like I said, you could be that exact same person that I just said and still be about that shit. So what I'm talking about is not the mending of ties. What I'm talking about is the mindset or the switch or the change that you need to establish in order to take care of all those relationships that you have now made for yourself. So what we're really talking about is not math. What we're really talking about is not gods. What we're really talking about, when you're talking about 1 × 1 = 1, you're not talking about none of that shit. What you're talking about is conformity. You're asking people to stop conforming to the government and what the government says. Because the math, at the end of the day, like I said, it still makes sense. The math still makes sense. It's still starting from 1 × 2. This is where our mathematics, our earthly mathematics, this is where it starts. It starts at 1 × 2. That's where it starts. It doesn't start at 1 × 1. It doesn't start at 1 × 0. It starts at 1 × 2. That's where it starts. And when you start at 1 × 2, everything makes sense. There's no errors. Everything makes sense because 1 × 2 = 2. You know what I mean? Like 1 × 2. Well, actually, no. 1 × 2 = 1. But yeah, so it's a language issue. It's a language issue. It is. It simply is. 1 × 2 = 2. 0 × 2 = 2. Something and nothing times 2 = 2. So actually 1 × so based off of your math, 1 times 2 equals 4 or 3. 4 equals 4. Because 1 is actually 2. And that's the thing, too. 2 is a very important number. The number 2 is an extremely important number because 2 is 2 times 1. So 0 and 1 actually means 2. And that's why, basically, that's the reason why I'm saying mathematics starts at 1 times 2 equals 2. Because 1 represents also 0. There is something connected to 1. So by your standard and mine, because that's my belief too, I believe that the number 2 is an extremely important number. Like, extremely. Why? Because it's 2 ones. Two is actually 2 ones. So, and 1 is important, but 1 is actually 0. So 1 times 2 is actually 4. It's a dialect. We're having dialect problems. We're having language problems. We're having governmental conformity problems. We're having matrix blue pill problems. On that notion, I'm just speaking about 1 times 1 thing here. I'm not talking about like all of his theories and whatnot. Because like I said before, he started coming out. I remember like when I made my video about the cube, right? A couple years ago, I made a video about the cube. I was saying a lot of shit. I'm not gonna repeat it. And then he came out with the flower of life. So, which is basically the same thing, actually. The cube is actually kind of, well, a little bit, yes. But I had that in a vision. It was a vision that I had. I was playing video games, and I was doing spiritual shit too. Obviously, I was playing video games, and I had a vision, and it was a cube. It was a blue cube, and it was a bunch of mechanical things working. Basically, I had this epiphany, a kind of like revelation. And all hell broke loose after that video. All hell broke loose after that video. There was other people talking about the cube. I was talking about the cube. Terrence Howard started to talk about his cube. But the flower of life is actually called also platonic solids, but also Metatron's cube. The book of life is a cube that Metatron, the angel, who is Enoch, who was a human, apparently Enoch went to wherever the fuck, you know what I'm gonna say, heaven. He went into a shirt. Enoch went into a shirt, and he was shown how the shirt works, and then for some reason somebody decided to make him the boss of all the angels. And when he became the boss of all the angels, he was given access to the book of life. The book of life is represented by humans as the Platonic solids. But what you probably, and Platonic solids are cubes. It is a cube with multiple dimensions in it, which is something that I was talking about in my videos. Basically, you're a cube. You're a square. You're not a circle. And that's what Platonic solids is. It's a square full of other squares, and it revolves around itself, so it looks like it's inside of a circle. But you're actually like a circle inside of a square. So he came out with that shit. That's when he went to Harvard University sweating and shit and acting like nobody was listening to him. I don't know why. If you're at Harvard University, somebody is listening. Because I never got invited to anywhere. With the amount of knowledge that I have, no one ever invited me nowhere to say anything. So, except my boy Jafar was shout out. You know, like, except my boy Jafar shout out for the interview the other day. It was great. It was awesome. And now we have this 1x1 thing, which is fine. I mean, you know, whatever. I don't know. It's competition. I feel like I'm in competition with Terrence Howard. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm in competition with Terrence Howard, but you're not gonna win, Terrence, because I'm smarter than you. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not the. I'm one of the smartest people on the planet. I'm not the smartest, and I'm okay with that. I am perfectly comfortable with that notion. As a matter of fact, that's where all my power comes from. The power of nothingness, the power of zero. I'm comfortable being who I am. I'm okay knowing that I don't know everything. I'm more than okay with it. And you want to know what's weird? It's like it's almost as if the fact that I don't know everything and being happy not knowing everything makes me know even more things. I know that sounds weird, but it does. So, anyways, when we say 1x1 = 2, you're talking about a fallacy. You're talking about language. You're talking about philosophy. You're talking about a philosophy. I guess he kind of alludes to that too, also. But we're talking about a fallacy. We're talking about a language error, which was done on purpose. It's a language error that was done on purpose. Scientists are very aware that 1x1 = 2. They're very aware. It's just that there's no point unless you want to fucking be a Slytherin or a Hufflepuff or Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. There's no point into saying 1x1 = 2. Period. The only reason why you would say 1x1 = 2 is because you want to be fucking Harry Potter. Period. 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 Like end the story. So, anyways, I hope that clears up everything. I know this some people this might go over your head, but like I said before, we're all about the zero. We're all about zero. We're not one. We're about zero. So when you see me in the hood, throw up a zero. If you see me in the hood, throw this up. Throw this up. Don't throw a one. I am not a one. I'm a zero. I'm everything. I'm not one. I am not a compressed version of a particular idea, mindset, or composition or structure. I am outside of one. I am outside of one. And if you throw up a zero, it's because you understand that you are outside of one too. Because one is compressed. One is a compression. It's a reduction. It's a minus. One is less than zero. One is less than zero. Zero is the stronger number. Zero is everything. In mathematics, zero is everything. Zero is not nothing, because you can't say zero is nothing. You say zero is, the reason why you say zero is nothing is because you don't want people to ask you questions. That's why you say zero is nothing, because you want the kid to fucking finish fucking school on time. That's why you say zero is nothing. Zero is a thing. Zero is everything. One has to come from somewhere. One cannot come from one. One cannot come from one. One is not born from one. One is born from zero. One is born from everything. Everything becomes one. Everything becomes one. One does not start from one. One is not a clone of one. So when you see me in the street, throw me a zero. Throw me an O. Because we both of us, you and me, we are expansive. We are everything. We are the all. Some people are ones. That's because they compressed everything to make one. Some people don't compress. I don't compress. I don't confirm. I don't conform. One form. Shout out to me for dropping some jams up in this mug, man. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? So that's also the reason why I'm saying we got to go back to zero. Not back from one. We got to go back to zero. Because zero is power. Zero is everything that is beyond this earth. Zero is everything that is beyond this atmosphere. Zero is the infinity of space. That's what we are. That's who we are. The only reason why there is one is because of zero. It's because of us. The only reason why you here is because of us. All these Illuminati cats, they ones. That's why they always throwing up their finger like this. You never notice? Just look it up. Every time those guys take a picture, one, they are built from us. We built them. We made them. They didn't make us. They're trying to make you believe that they built us, but it's vice versa. It's vice versa. And if I made you, like my mama says, if I made you, if I brought you to this earth, I can take you out of this earth. You know what I mean, bro? If I bring you into this world, I can take your ass out. You know what I mean, son? Like I said, man, we cast there's a big old net in this fucking sea, bro. We catching all kinds of fish. It's a big old net. We gonna eat good tonight. We gonna eat good tonight. I could keep going, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one. Peace out.